Hey everybody, welcome to the show. And today I'm going to do something a little different, I guess. Today I want to make, as you probably noticed from the title, Ceviche de Pescado. Now, this is not an American dish. This is not a North American dish even. This is a South American dish, predominantly. And it was brought here to the United States from people who immigrated here and have made their homes and their lives here. And it's become a very big part, of course, of Latin American cuisine here in the United States. Now, ceviche is usually a dish made from fish. You can make it from other seafoods. It's sometimes made with shrimp. But today we're going to make it with fish, whence in Latin it would be ceviche de pescado, ceviche of fish. So, traditionally, and again, some people may have difference with this, in Panama at least, from my exposure to it through my lifetime, ceviche was made from a very specific type of fish found only in the Pacific Ocean, and that is a fish called corvina. Very nice white flesh, very densely packed. You can get it here in the United States. You can order it on the internet. It's like, at this time, I just checked recently, it was $26.75 USD per pound. So you can have it air freighted to you frozen. Typically in this area, when we buy ceviche out at a restaurant, it is made with tilapia. So that's how I'm going to do it today, just because it's less expensive and it's easy. This was $4.99 a pound. I may, in the future, buy some corvina just to go ahead and make the traditional ceviche. And again, in other South American countries, they don't necessarily adhere strictly to the rule that it's made with corvina. It's made with other types of fish, and tilapia is very, very common. Now, ceviche is not a cooked dish, but it's also not sashimi. What you're going to do here is we're going to treat the fish with an acid, in this case lime juice. It could in theory be done with lemon juice, but ceviche is generally made with lemon juice. You can get that in any grocery store, real lime, very common product here in the United States. We're going to use the Nellie and Joe's famous Key West lime juice. Key West key limes are actually yellow. They're still lime, but they're yellow. They have a higher acid content, very, very tart, and not real common. This is a little harder to come by. You can find it some places here in the United States, but not everywhere. But I'm going to go ahead and that's what I'm going to use today. But I have made it in the past with the real lime, just regular, what we call green limes or Asian limes. Works just fine. You can squeeze your own. That's very, very nice. Now, I'm not pickling the fish. What we're doing is denaturing the proteins. Now, if you haven't had organic chemistry or microbiology, this is kind of a complicated process. Do not confuse denaturing a protein with denatured alcohol. Denaturing a protein has to do with breaking down the protein, not molecular, but the molecule in proteins are folded 4 times. The primary, secondary, tertiary, and quaternary folding of proteins, and that's when they become functional as whatever they're going to be in the muscle tissues. What you're doing is you're breaking hydrogen bonds, I know this is getting kind of geeky, in the proteins to break them down so that they're essentially, I guess, more tender, I don't know, but from a culinary point of view. This can be done with either acid or heat. We typically denature our proteins in the world with heat. We put things in, we fry them, we bake them, we roast them, we stew them, but that's a heat process. It's exactly the same thing. You're denaturing the proteins and the meats. What we're going to do is we're going to do this with an acid. Citric acid in the lime juice is going to denature these proteins and essentially chemically cook the meat. Now, there are not a lot of constituent components to ceviche. There's the protein, the acid, a little bit of onion, and some seasoning. Now that's typically done with ahi or chili peppers. I don't have either one of those. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little, just sprinkle lightly of cayenne pepper. Not enough to make this super hot. Certainly because I know Beverly doesn't like super spicy dishes. And I intend to share this. I prefer to make this with a regular, you know, a whole pepper that I chop up and mince very, very finely. But again, you know, in a pinch, you can make do. So I've got 4 nice fillets here. And this is probably enough to serve us for 2 meals. I don't know. Again, I've had this different ways. In the restaurant here locally, they sort of slice this. Kind of like such, into long pieces like that, and then treat it. And we get that at a Peruvian restaurant called Sardi's here in the Southern Maryland area. When I had it brought to me by a friend of mine who was from Panama, it was actually minced, so it's cut very, very fine, small little pieces. And then that was typically served on a cracker or some kind of little bread or toasted bread. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to dice up this tilapia, and I'm going to cut this into fine pieces so it marinates nicely, because if it doesn't get fully marinated, again, Beverly's going to give me the dickens. So that's what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to use shallots rather than onions. Got a couple of nice red shallots. I get those prepped, and we'll be back and I'll show you how I put this all together. Okay, so I diced up my tilapia into nice little tiny pieces. You know, not microfine, but small. And I've got my 2 shallots also diced up nicely here. So as fine as you can get that, kind of like if you were going to put that on a hot dog or something. Real, real fine on the shallots. And I've put this in a bowl so I can just go ahead. And I probably got a little more shallot than I really want here, but it's not going to hurt it. Often ceviche is actually served with a very, very finely shaved red onion on top of the ceviche. I like to add it into it. So that's how much I'm going to put in there. And then, again, I don't have a pepper that I can also dice very, very finely. So I'm going to give this just a little shot, if I can figure out how to get into it, of cayenne pepper. Not much, just enough to give it a little bit of life. I'm sure that that will be sufficient for our purposes. And that's going to help work through this as it sets. Now, again, opinions and recipes vary about how long the marinade should sit. You know, the lime juice should sit on this. Commonly it's believed, and the way we get it here locally, is that it denatures the protein so quickly that by the time you mix this all together, put it on the plate and get it to the table, it's ready. Other people tell you it's got to be 3 to 4 hours. I was taught originally by a fella from Panama whose mother had made this all his life and had probably learned from her mother who had learned from her mother. And the instruction I got was that this marinates in the fridge for 24 hours. It's not going to hurt it to set longer. And so I really can't tell you this. I'm going to let this set overnight, at least. So it's going to be, 14 or 16 hours before I get back to this. I've got a nice little plastic container with a snap lid that I hope it's all going to fit in. And that's just the onion and the fish and the cayenne pepper. And I don't want to pack this in there too tight because I want to leave sufficient room for the lime juice to get in around all the fish and do its magic. Yeah, we're looking pretty good. I did not pack that in there. I just set it down in there. Rinse my hand. And now I'm just going to add my lime juice. This is a brand new bottle, so I got to take the seal off of it. That's the world we live in, folks. Everything's got to be hermetically sealed. And it takes a good deal of this. In fact, I don't even need that lid. I need that little thing. There we go. And there we go. Hopefully you can see that is all down in the lime juice. Wouldn't have hurt necessarily to put a little sprinkle of salt in this, but I'm trying to reduce the amount of salt that I put in my body. That's it. I'll stick that in the fridge, and tomorrow for lunch we will have ceviche de pescado. So I hope you enjoyed that little short thing that has been imported here to the United States from our brethren from South America who have made their homes here. If you got questions or comments, hey, leave them in the comment section below. I will do the best I can to answer your questions. I try to get back to everybody I can. Love hearing from you. Just stop in and say hi, whatever. If you're new here, hey, pick subscribe. Come along for the adventure. We got lots more to show you. And as always, thank you for watching.